And when you write story-based ads on Facebook, they do two things. Well, actually three things. One is they immediately compel your viewer, your prospect, to give you more of their attention. It's easy to get attention, right? You just make a video where you do lots of this crap, or you put a really outrageous image in there, and that'll maybe stop the scroll. But that's worthless if you don't do anything with the attention you get on that, um, from that prospect, right? So story, as we know, well done, is a very great way to get people focused, paying attention, reading on, getting down to the click. And so that's the first thing it does. It wins the battle for useful attention. Two is, it allows you to bond with your prospect when they read your story and they start to relate to what you're saying, and they say, yep, that's me, that's me, that's me. This sounds like something I could use. It seems like this person really gets me, really understands the situation I'm in. I think I'll engage further with this person. Three is, it helps, particularly on Facebook, it helps you do what Facebook wants you to do as an advertiser, which is please their audience. Please their audience. As you know, the way we use Facebook and all social media now is we're sharing, constantly sharing everything we're doing. And we sort of have like this other life we live online, right? We communicate differently. We have conversations. We keep up with people differently. We're sort of always like judging our standing on social media. They've done a masterful job of figuring out how we react and respond to things. You've probably read articles that, those little red dots that you have engagement, you have alerts, you have, somebody mentioned you by name, somebody tagged you, somebody did this or that, or liked or responded to your post. That is a little dopamine hit every time you see that. It's much like slot machines and what they've figured out about how to make slot machines in casinos so addicting, right? It's that you see people on slot machines and they're just sitting there hitting the buttons over, and they don't have to. Used to be you have to pull the crank, right? You in the old days you'd put coins in the slot, and then you'd pull the crank, and then you'd wait and you'd watch the numbers roll, and you go, darn, I didn't do it. And so the act of that was gratifying, but there was a sort of long process of you getting your money into the machine. And so they said, well, how the hell can we speed that up? So of course now it's all digital, and you see people now, they're just sort of numb, staring at the screen and just hitting the button. So they'll get a little win, but they don't even really celebrate. I got a little money. If it's a group of people and they're not really slot addicted, then they might, cheer, but they keep going. Essentially, you just keep going and pressing that button, and you could just see the sort of addiction and the zombiness behind it, because they've figured out that if the way they balance the winnings to the losing, to keep you at that slot machine, feeding it, you're further invested, you're further engaged with the payoff. And so, in casinos, you hate walking away from a machine that you spent time in, because you're like, I just fed that machine, and then somebody's going to walk up and hit the damn button, and the bells are going to go off, and the security guard's going to come over, and they're going to bring them a briefcase of your money, essentially, right? So it's similar to how we react to social media. But point of all that being, so sure, we have sort of like this behemoth, and they've like engineered this beast for us to all sort of like bow to every day. Sure, you could look at it like that. That's kind of how it is. However, it's there, and it's a great tool for us. Everybody's using it, billions of users out there, and it's a fantastic way for us to get our ads in front of people. And what they want us to do as advertisers is give their users on their platform a good experience. And that means sharing something cool, right? Helping them feel excited, helping them feel empowered, helping them feel smarter, more educated, entertained. And story is a great way to do that. So the way you judge, and Facebook judges your standing in their world is, are you getting engagement on your post? Are you getting shares on your post? Are you getting comments on your post? All that increases how they see your standing, your value, how you're treating their platform. So all that to say, if you're still on the outskirts of Facebook advertising, or if you're in the thick of it, of course, you know these things. We need to do our best in advertising on Facebook to engage the users there the same way they like to engage with other users when they're not viewing an ad. So give Facebook users the experience they want to have on Facebook, which is to feel a little smarter, a little more plugged in, you know, a little more valuable for being there. And so that's why story writing is now the most powerful thing I think you can do in this industry. It's always been important. We've always known that story is one of the most critical pieces of the copy component. But I would venture to say that today more than ever, because of the way we interact so much on Facebook and other social platforms, story is now king. It is now king. I've spoken to very high level people in you know, some of the biggest publishers, and they all tell me, Kev, if you want to help freelancers be more valuable, tell them to study the hell out of story, always practice their story writing abilities, study screenplays, use dialogue, all those things are what they sit around and judge and toil over now in these high level meetings for these major copy campaigns that go out. Obviously, also when we think about video, you know, it's a lot like producing the way they do VSLs now, video sales letters, is more akin to how they put together an episode of television than it is writing a sales letter, right? They sit around and they do table reads of the script, and they're judging it. Is it compelling? Is it confusing? Is it what is? And they you know, review every slide to make sure that every single slide does its job of getting you further into the story, right? And so they focus on story, dialogue, attention, tension, you know, conflict and resolution, and all those things that we watch TV for, that we watch great shows for. So more than ever, we are entertainers. We are entertainers as much as we are salespeople in copywriting. And I think that's really good news for us. I think that's really exciting. Everybody I know who's a good copywriter, who loves copywriting, studies these things and loves these things, and, you know, has their favorite movies. And I don't think, you know, we're just here to sell. We're here to be writers and be creative and entertain. And never more than now have those two worlds come together.